There are days that divide your life into two parts, before and after. For me, that day started like any other. Coffee in hand, bleary eyes staring at the glow of my inbox, and the faint aroma of someone microwaving eggs in the office kitchen. Until I opened the email. Subject: Congratulations to Emma Sinclair and Daniel Martin on their engagement. I blinked. Read it again, then again. A formal announcement from HR. A glossy photo of Emma, my girlfriend, the woman I'd kissed goodbye just last Friday, smiling like she had just won the lottery. And standing next to her was Daniel Martin, the CEO's son. I read the caption: "We wish the happy couple a lifetime of success and happiness. Emma Sinclair, recently promoted to Director of Strategic Development, is engaged to Daniel Martin, son of our CEO Gregory Martin." My stomach dropped. This had to be a mistake. A prank. Maybe a marketing gimmick. But no, there was the ring, there was her arm around his, and there was the date, the previous Sunday. They'd gotten engaged over the weekend. I stood up so quickly my chair skidded across the floor. My coworkers barely looked up. I made my way to her office like a man sleepwalking. Emma's office was glass-walled, clean lines, modern furniture, minimalistic just like her. She was typing, her expression calm. When she saw me standing outside, her eyes narrowed slightly. Not with surprise, with annoyance. She stood and came out, closing the door behind her. "We need to talk," I said, barely able to keep my voice level. She folded her arms. "This isn't the place." "Are you serious? You're engaged?" I asked, voice hoarse. "To him?" She looked at me for a moment, then nodded. "Yes." I searched her face for a trace of guilt. I found none. "What about us? Emma, we've been together for 2 years." Her expression didn't change. "You and I were never official." I stared at her. "What the hell does that even mean?" "It means," she said, glancing toward the hallway, "that whatever we had wasn't public. It wasn't defined. And honestly, it shouldn't have happened." My throat tightened. "Are you really pretending we didn't exist?" "I'm not pretending," she said sharply. "We didn't exist. Not in the way that matters. I never called you my boyfriend. We never told anyone. I stayed with you when you had COVID. I cooked for you for weeks. You gave me a key to your apartment. That was a mistake. You said you loved me." She flinched. Just barely, but it was there. A crack in her otherwise icy mask. "I was in a different place then," she said quietly. "Things changed." I let out a bitter laugh. "Yeah, they changed the moment the CEO's son started sniffing around. I thought you hated him." "He's not who I thought he was," she replied flatly, "and he's part of a future I want." "You mean a future with money, power, and your name on the corner office?" Her jaw clenched. "That's not fair." "Fair? Emma, I loved you. I thought we were building something real." She looked away. "You need to move on, Ryan. This isn't helping either of us." And just like that, she turned and walked back into her office, leaving me standing there like a fool. We met during a late-night project, both stuck in the office trying to fix a botched client report. She was brilliant, sharp, composed, with a dry sense of humor I found addictive. She laughed when I made sarcastic comments under my breath, and I lived for that laugh. Our relationship grew quietly. She insisted we keep it private, said she wanted to avoid workplace gossip. I agreed because I believed in her. We had movie nights at her place, took long weekend drives up the coast, spent holidays together. At her insistence, we never posted photos. She said she liked it that way, said it made things feel more ours. She called me when her father passed away unexpectedly. I was the one who held her through the night, who drove 4 hours with her to the funeral. I was there when she broke down in the parking lot of the funeral home. I thought that meant something. I watched her work late nights, climbing the ranks with ruthless precision. She was always ambitious, but I admired that about her. I just never imagined she would use that ambition to erase me from her life. News of the engagement spread through the company like wildfire. Suddenly, Emma was in every company memo, every executive meeting, every photo op. Her name was being mentioned alongside the CEO's, and whispers of next in line followed her like a perfume. Me, I was just a mid-level project manager now infamous for having thought he was dating Emma. People didn't say it to my face, but I could feel the stares, the pity, the disbelief. One colleague cornered me by the water cooler. "Hey, sorry to ask, but weren't you and Emma, a thing?" I gave a tight smile. "Guess not." I wanted to transfer, quit, vanish, but I had bills, responsibilities, so I kept my head down and went to work every day in the same building where the woman I loved pretended I was a stranger. Then came the worst part. HR called me in, a formal meeting. Apparently, someone had reported that I'd been spreading false rumors about a relationship with a member of senior leadership. They said it could be considered harassment. Emma had filed it. They didn't fire me, but I was warned, told to be professional and respect boundaries. I left the room shaking. She wasn't content just to deny me. She wanted to erase me completely. It happened on a Thursday night, long after the office lights had dimmed and the building had gone quiet. I was sitting alone in my apartment, half drunk on whiskey and bitterness, scrolling through the old photos I couldn't bring myself to delete. Emma on the beach, hair in the wind, laughing at something stupid I'd said. Emma in my hoodie, barefoot in my kitchen making pancakes. Emma texting me, "I miss you already, and it's only been an hour." My thumb hovered over the trash icon, but I didn't hit it. Instead, I opened my email. To daniel.martin@martingroup.com. Subject: You deserve to know, or maybe I just needed to send this. I stared at the blank message, heart pounding. I wasn't even sure what I was trying to do. I didn't owe him anything. He didn't steal her from me. Emma made her own choices, but I wanted someone else to see the wreckage she left behind. Someone close to her. Someone who would look at her the way I used to, then realize she was capable of breaking someone to pieces and never blinking. So I wrote, "Hi Daniel, you don't know me, but I work at Martin Group. You probably know me only as the guy Emma has never dated. But I thought you should see this. I don't expect a reply. I don't want to ruin your relationship, if that's even possible anymore. But I need to do this. Not for you, for me." Attached are screenshots of my text messages with Emma, 2 years worth. Photos from our trips, her voice messages, calendar invites to weekends at her place. She told me she loved me. She cried in my arms when her father died. I stayed by her side during her surgery. I watched her climb this company one rung at a time and cheered for her every step. She denied all of it. To HR, to our coworkers, to you, I assume. Maybe it won't change anything. Maybe you'll marry her anyway. But at least now, when you stand at that altar, you won't be in the dark. I don't need a response. Ryan, I hesitated for a few seconds, then clicked send. Just like that, it was gone. The evidence was out there, the proof, her words, her laughter, the love she swore was real, all reduced to attachments in an email with a broken subject line. I closed my laptop and waited. Days passed. I didn't hear anything. No reply, no outburst, no rumors. Emma didn't confront me. If she knew, she didn't show it. She walked past me at work like always, calm, polished, unreadable. For a moment, I wondered if I had imagined the whole thing. Then, late one night, an unfamiliar number texted me. "I got your email. I've read every word, every screenshot. Thank you for sending it." DM, just that. No anger, no denial, but also no explanation of what it meant. I didn't know if he'd called off the wedding, if he'd confronted her, if he was heartbroken, or simply coldly taking it all in like a businessman scanning a quarterly report. Still, I stared at that message for a long time. The following week, things at the office shifted. Subtly at first. Emma canceled 2 meetings she had scheduled with the board. She didn't show up at the weekly leadership briefing. HR quietly removed the wedding announcement from the company intranet. The internal email chain congratulating the couple had disappeared from the archives. Then came the whisper: the wedding was postponed. Not canceled, postponed. The kind of vague, sterile word rich people use when their public image is too carefully manicured to allow scandal. I didn't celebrate, I didn't gloat, but I felt something shift inside me, a strange kind of closure. Not peace, not forgiveness, but a flicker of freedom. She couldn't erase me anymore, not completely. A week later, Emma caught me in the parking garage. She looked different, pale, tired, still beautiful, but now like a painting exposed to rain, something cracked beneath the surface. "You sent him the email," she said. It wasn't a question. "I did," I replied. She exhaled slowly. "Why?" I searched her face. "Not to hurt you, not to hurt him either." "Then why?" I shrugged. "Maybe because I wanted someone else to see that I wasn't a ghost, that I mattered, that we happened." She closed her eyes. "You don't understand how high the stakes were." "Oh, I do," I said bitterly. "You just didn't think I was one of them." Her voice was softer now. You don't know what kind of life I came from. I had to fight to get here. So did I snapped. Only I didn't trample someone who loved me to get there. She looked away. You're not a monster, Emma, I said, but you made a choice, and now someone else knows the truth. I loved you, she whispered. I just couldn't afford to love you publicly. I shook my head. Then it wasn't really love. And I walked away. I didn't make a show of it. I walked into HR on a rainy Tuesday morning with a plain white envelope and handed it to Rachel at the front desk. 2 weeks, I said simply. She blinked, surprised. Are you sure, Ryan? Completely. No one asked questions. Maybe they already knew. Maybe the email had done more damage than I thought, even without a reply from Daniel. Maybe they'd all just gotten good at pretending, like Emma had. I packed up my things over the next few days in silence. No farewell lunch, no speeches, just a quiet removal of myself from a place that had once been filled with meaning, because she was in it. The knock came at 4:32 p.m. on a Thursday, 3 days before my official last day. I wasn't expecting anyone. My place was a mess, boxes half-packed, coffee gone cold on the counter, my resignation letter crumpled up beside the sink. I was halfway through a playlist titled Moving On that only seemed to loop heartbreak songs. When I opened the door, Emma stood there. No makeup, hair pulled back hastily, her eyes swollen as if she hadn't slept. She didn't wait to be invited in. She just walked past me, the scent of her perfume painfully familiar, and stood in the middle of my living room like she'd forgotten how to be anywhere else. I had to see you, she said, voice cracking. I shut the door behind her. What do you want, Emma? I didn't come to fight or defend myself. Good, I said, arms crossed. She sat down on the edge of my couch and looked around, noticing the half-packed boxes. You're really leaving. I gave 2 weeks. I've got 3 days left. She nodded slowly, then said nothing for a long moment. Just silence. Breathing, watching. Then finally, he didn't say anything to you, did he? I shook my head. Daniel? No, not a word. She looked down at her hands. He ended it, quietly, no scene, just said he didn't like feeling lied to. Said if I could erase 2 years of you that easily, what else was I capable of? I said nothing. Let the words settle. She looked up. You broke everything, Ryan. No, I said calmly. You did. I just showed the truth. Her jaw tensed, but she didn't argue. She stared at me like she was trying to see who I had become, like she expected me to be angrier, or more forgiving, or maybe still in love. Why now? She asked quietly. Why send it? I walked over to the window. Because I couldn't stand being made invisible anymore, being treated like a mistake. I gave you everything, and when it no longer served your image, you acted like I never existed. I never meant to hurt you. You didn't just hurt me, I said, turning to face her. You erased me. She flinched. For the first time, she looked fragile. Not the composed executive who commanded rooms or the charming woman who climbed the ranks. Just a person sitting in the wreckage of their choices. I've lost everything, she whispered. Daniel, the promotion, my credibility. Everyone's talking, but no one says anything to my face. Sounds familiar, I said. She blinked, and a single tear slipped down her cheek. I loved you, Ryan. I really did. I sat across from her, calm and tired. Maybe, but not enough to stand beside me, not enough to choose the truth. She opened her mouth like she wanted to protest, but closed it again. There were no words left to soften what she'd done. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said finally. Good, I replied. Because I'm not ready to give it. She nodded, then stood, walked to the door, paused with her hand on the knob. I still dream about us sometimes, about how it could have been if I had chosen differently. Then keep dreaming, I said, because the version of me in that dream isn't waiting anymore. She didn't look back. The door clicked shut behind her. 3 days later, I left the building without saying goodbye to anyone. No one stopped me. No final glances. Just the quiet thrum of fluorescent lights and a company newsletter on the break room wall, with a smiling Emma in a photo that was already outdated. I walked out into the sunlight, jobless but unburdened. Whatever came next, whatever city, company, or woman, I knew one thing for certain. I had mattered. Even if she couldn't admit it, and I would never let anyone make me feel invisible again. It was nearly 2 months after I walked out of the Martin Group building for the last time that I heard about her. I was grabbing coffee with Jordan, an old coworker who had stayed on, someone I trusted enough to still talk to. We met at a little cafe across from my new office, a smaller company this time, tighter team, no politics, no illusions. Over cappuccinos and casual updates, Jordan casually dropped the bomb. "Oh, didn't I tell you? Emma resigned, just like that. No goodbye email, no farewell speech. Packed up her office over the weekend, gone by Monday." I blinked, caught off guard. "Resigned?" I asked, trying to sound unaffected. "Yeah," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Word is, the board didn't push her out, but she wasn't exactly invited to stay either. Her reputation took a hit after Daniel left. And you know how it goes. When you lose your leverage, people stop pretending they like you." I didn't respond right away. Just stirred my coffee, watching the swirl of cream fade into the black. Something about it felt final. Not triumphant, not satisfying, just final. Later that week, I checked the inbox of the old email tied to my company credentials. I'd kept it active for a while, mostly for transition paperwork and the occasional missed message from vendors. Buried between spam and old company memos was one unread message. I hesitated, hand hovering over the mouse. I clicked it open, not to respond. Just to see. "Ryan, I heard you're doing well. Jordan mentioned you started with a new company. I'm glad. I wanted to say something I didn't have the courage to say before. I know I burned the bridge between us, and I won't pretend I deserve a second chance. But if you're ever willing to talk, to meet for coffee, or even just hear me out, I would really like that. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want a chance to say the things I couldn't say when I was too scared to lose everything. You don't have to reply, but if you do, I'll be here." Emma, I stared at it for a long time, read it once, twice, then closed the tab and deleted the message. I didn't feel anger, not anymore, but I didn't feel curiosity either, or longing. There was a time when I would have read that email and rushed to meet her, clinging to any thread of hope that what we had could be salvaged, that she still loved me, that maybe deep down she regretted everything. But I wasn't that man anymore. I didn't need closure from her, because I had given it to myself. I moved on, bit by bit, mile by mile. A new job, a new apartment, a few new names in my contacts list that didn't come with emotional landmines. Sometimes I still think of her, in passing, like a chapter in a book I once couldn't put down, one I read over and over, hoping for a different ending, until I finally realized the story was written in ink, and that I deserved a different book entirely, one where I wasn't a secret, one where love didn't come with an expiration date stamped behind closed doors. She chose ambition, I chose peace, and in the end, that was the better choice.